The American technology concern, Apple Inc., is advancing with the technology for self-driving cars and is striving to produce a road vehicle by 2024, which may include its own drilling technology for the battery, citing sources familiar with the matter. The automotive efforts of the iPhone manufacturer, known as Project Titan, have continued unevenly since 2014, when it first began designing its own vehicle from scratch. At one point, Apple gave up its efforts to focus on software and reassess its goals. Doug Field, an Apple veteran who worked at Tesla Inc., returned to head the project in 2018 and lay off 190 people from the team in 2019. Since then, Apple has advanced enough to now seek to create a vehicle for consumers, say two sources familiar with the effort, who have asked not to be named because Apple's plans are not public. Apple's goal of building its vehicle for the mass market contrasts with the goals of competitors such as Waymo's Alphabet Inc., which has built robotics to transport passengers for a driverless service. Central to Apple's strategy is a new battery design that could radically reduce the cost of batteries and increase vehicle mileage, according to a third source who has seen Apple's battery design. Apple declined to comment on plans for future products. Making a vehicle is a challenge for the supply chain, even for Apple, a company with deep pockets that produces hundreds of millions of electronic products each year with parts from around the world, but has never made a car. It took Elon Musk's Tesla 17 years before it finally made sustainable profits. If there's a company on the planet that has the resources to do that, it's probably Apple. But at the same time, it's not a cell phone, said a man who worked on Project Titan. It remains unclear who will assemble the Apple car, but sources say they expect the company to rely on a manufacturing partner for the production of vehicles. And there is still an option for Apple to decide to reduce its efforts to just an autonomous driving system to be integrated with a car made by a traditional car maker, rather than the iPhone maker selling an Apple-branded car, adds one source. Two people who have been informed of Apple's plans have warned that the delay in the pandemic could delay the start of production for 2025 or beyond. Shares of Tesla ended 6.5% on Monday, after their debut in the S&P 500 on Monday. Shares of Apple ended up 1.24% after the news. Apple has decided to use external partners for elements of the system, including LiDAR sensors, which help self-driving cars get a three-dimensional view of the road, say two sources familiar with the company's plans. Apple's car may have many such sensors for scanning at different distances, says another person. Some sensors can be obtained from Apple's internally developed units for LiDAR. The Apple iPhone 12 Pro and iPad Pro models released this year also have such sensors. Earlier, Reuters reported that Apple has held talks with potential suppliers of such sensors, but it is also exploring the construction of its own sensor. As for the car's battery, Apple plans to use a unique single-cell design that charges the individual cells in the battery and frees up space inside the battery, eliminating the bags and modules that hold the battery materials, according to one source. Apple's design means that more active material can be packed in the battery, giving the car a potentially longer mileage. Apple is also testing a chemical compound for the battery called LFP, or lithium iron phosphate, which is inherently less likely to overheat and thus safer than other types of lithium-ion batteries. This is the next level, the source described Apple's battery technology like the first time we saw an iPhone. Earlier, Apple had engaged Magna International Inc. in negotiations for the production of a car, but the talks were terminated, and Magna did not comment on the topic to Reuters. To generate profit, contract car makers often want volumes that could be a challenge, even for Apple, which would be new to the automotive market. When will it be released? The latest report from Reuters suggests Apple is aiming to release its car in 2024. Note that this would be entirely subject to change. The biggest hurdle would be the coronavirus pandemic, which insiders suggested could delay plans to 2025. The other hurdle is that Apple has never made a car before. Tesla, the all-electric car company headed up by Elon Musk, started producing its mass-market Model 3 in July 2017. Although Tesla has been producing cars since 2008, it still struggled to ramp up manufacturing to levels required by this cheaper vehicle. Tesla reached its goal around 12 months later, and Musk would go on to describe the experience as a bet the company moment. What will be the battery specifications? The latest reports suggest Apple will use a lithium iron phosphate battery in its vehicles. This would be important as it could avoid the use of cobalt, an expensive element largely sourced from the Democratic Republic of Congo under harsh conditions. The design choice could also eliminate nickel from the equation. Taken together, removing both of these expensive materials could dramatically cut battery costs. Bloomberg NEF found battery prices had dropped from $1,100 per kilowatt hour in 2010 to just $156 by 2019. Wedbush securities analyst Dan Ives told CNBC in June 2020 that this new chemistry could push battery prices as low as $60 to $80 per kilowatt hour. Tesla has started employing lithium iron phosphate in its vehicles, according to October reports. Tesla Model 3 cars, using the new chemistry, started shipping from the Giga Shanghai factory to Europe that month. Beyond the chemistry, Apple is also rumored to be employing a monocell design, where modules and pouches are removed to create more space for the cells. Will it have self-driving capabilities? A big question mark is its autonomous driving capabilities. CEO Tim Cook described autonomy in 2017 as the mother of all AI projects, dropping a major hint about the company's ambitions in this area. Apple is rumored to be planning LiDAR sensors for its new car. These sensors send out light, time how long it takes to bounce back, and use that to work out the distance. This would enable the car's systems to detect the distance of objects. The company may use its internal LiDAR technology. Apple introduced such a sensor to the iPad earlier this year, followed by the iPhone 12 Pro models. These are used to power augmented reality apps, which overlay virtual objects over a view of the real world. LiDAR enables the device to calculate the distance to objects and walls, using that to build a 3D map of the current view, and use that to overlay graphics. The graphics are scaled and sized over the camera's view to make them seem as if they are present in the real world. A famous example of this is Pokemon Go. Apple may use multiple LiDAR sensors to calculate varying distances. This could work similarly to Waymo's vehicles, which use a combination of shorter and longer range sensors to build up a view of the world. Tesla has notably avoided using LiDAR, instead preferring to rely on ultrasonic sensors and cameras, a big unknown so far. A big unknown is pricing. Electric cars are expensive to produce. McKinsey reported in March 2019 that an electric car costs around $12,000 more to produce than a comparable gas-powered car. Batteries are the biggest pain point. Electric vehicles have gradually proliferated in the marketplace as battery prices have plummeted over the past decade, but it's hard to say the sort of price target that Apple will aim for. The Tesla Model 3 costs $35,000 and ranks as the company's cheapest car. At the firm's September 2020 Battery Day, Musk declared that new technologies could enable it to release a $25,000 car in the coming years. Whether Apple aims for a mass market or opts for a high-end market akin to the Lucid Air remains to be seen.